Today we want to talk about the umbrella policy. And what an umbrella policy does is provide you with additional limits of liability coverage over the underlying policies, whether it be for personal lines covering a person's auto and home and recreational vehicles, or if it's a commercial policy, it would cover over their commercial auto, general liability, and workers' comp. And the purpose of the umbrella is to give you higher limits of coverage than over the policy that you have. The limits on a personal umbrella will go from $1 million to $5 million, and on a commercial umbrella they can go from $1 million up to $30 or $40 million if you needed limits of that high. The umbrella policies provide the defense cost, so it would cover the claim itself, plus it provide any of the cost to defend you in a serious liability claim. And the reason that people typically purchase the umbrella policy is to protect their own personal assets, to have enough coverage in case they were involved in a serious liability claim. One of the most important parts of an umbrella policy is it provides uninsured motorist coverage and underinsured motorist coverage if the other party has no coverage at all, or their limits are lower than yours. You can collect on your own umbrella policy, which for your injuries that you sustain in an auto accident. The premiums for a umbrella policy are very, very reasonable. Typically, a personal umbrella policy would cost between $152 to $200 a year. A commercial umbrella policy usually starts around $500 and can go up to several thousand, depending on what the underlying coverages cost. On the personal umbrellas run between $150 to $200 a year. When you look at your auto, is typically for a couple of autos is $1,200. A homeowner's policy is $600 to $700. So certainly the personal umbrella is a very reasonable policy, and it gives you that peace of mind that you have enough liability coverage in case you're involved in a serious claim. The worst thing you want to find out is at the time of a loss that you don't have enough liability coverage, and so this helps you to have plenty of coverage in case you were involved in a serious auto accident, or if you had recreational vehicles, you were injured somebody and they brought a suit against you. A person didn't have an umbrella policy and they had a serious claim, then you could exhaust the policy, which means that the company would pay out the limit on the policy, and then they would notify you that there was no more coverage available, and you would be responsible for any judgments that were brought against you. In a worst case scenario, a person could be forced to sell their house if they didn't have enough assets to cover a serious liability claim. And so what's important is the umbrella policy would at that point in time step in and add an additional $1 million of liability coverage for your claim. The umbrella policies are sold in $1 million increments, starting at $1 million, and a personal umbrella will typically go up to $5 million. Most personal accounts, I would recommend either $1 million or $2 million umbrella. It really depends on what you have, for what assets you're trying to protect, and how much exposure you have. If you have several cars and youthful operators and recreational vehicles such as boats and snowmobiles and Sea-Doos, then you might want to consider the higher limits. Umbrella policy requires that you carry the underlying policy, whether it be an auto policy or home policy, and they also will require certain limits of coverage on each individual policy, because the umbrella policy would not step in until the underlying policy had been exhausted.
You didn't realize that your big responsibility. Well, who is it time to be? What was it you wanted?